You probably won't have work-life balance. You will have to sacrifice. And if you can find a way that works for you, it will totally be worth it. These are just a couple of things that I wish that somebody would have said to me as I began my journey into motherhood as a working real estate agent. I've been a full-time real estate agent going on almost a decade now. I'll be going into my 9th year next year with my husband. My husband and I are a small but mighty team here in this Phoenix, Scottsdale area. And over that time, we began our real estate business together when we were dating. We got married during that time, traveled the world, built an incredible business, began coaching other agents, and then started our family 2 years ago. We are the proud parents of a beautiful 2-year-old boy and another one on the way. And it has me thinking a lot about what I wish that I had known before we changed our lives so drastically. So when you are working with your spouse, there's already a little bit of gray area between boundaries that exist in your personal life and your work life. And we had a lot of challenges with maintaining some kind of balance as we began our journeys into parenthood. And I can only imagine that we will have new struggles and new challenges ahead as we welcome our second baby later this year. But it has ultimately been worth it, being real estate agents while being parents. And it has been, honestly, it's been hugely a blessing to our family. So I wanted to share a little bit about things that maybe I wish I knew going into this phase of life, and maybe some things that might help you if you are also looking at growing your family or starting a family as a real estate agent. So I think that it's really helpful to have already been established as a real estate agent before growing our family. And I think that that was really helpful, but I don't think that that's the only way that you can do it. Specifically, one of the things that I think is most important to understand is that you won't have work-life balance, not the way that you might be thinking. I wish that somebody had told me that that's okay, because I think that we have this idea that to be successful, we have to have total separation between work and our personal lives and families. But if you are looking to get into a sense of having freedom and flexibility, where you have the freedom of choice to spend your time how and with who you want, and the flexibility to, continue making your own decisions on how you want to grow a business and earn an income, you will have to make some compromises somewhere. And I think that just the idea of attaining balance actually really is setting us up for failure. And this was something that I've learned over the last couple of years, growing our real estate business to entirely new heights, and beginning to coach other real estate agents as well. Just really understanding that like no one day is ever going to look the same, and that's okay. But instead, the most important thing is understanding how work is going to integrate with our lives. So there is kind of a lot of talk in the online space about how we need to get away from the semblance of work-life balance and instead embrace work-life integration. I think that is very true with how my husband and I have decided to take on this journey as well. We definitely prioritize work-life integration over work-life balance. And to me, what that means is understanding that we might not be able to perfectly follow our boundaries to a T. We might not be able to perfectly have our schedules flow throughout the day as we had them planned, because stuff happens all the time. Clients come up out of nowhere needing help. Transactions turn into dumpster fires that you need to put out. The kids get sick and maybe you get sick and it derails your entire day. Childcare falls through. All kinds of things happen that are outside of our controls. And so instead, what we've really prioritized is being able to just embrace that sometimes we're going to have to oscillate between work and family throughout the day. We're going to have to be passing through a little bit, and that's okay. And getting rid of really this idea of having hard and fast boundaries, which I do have really solid boundaries, but I know when I need to make decisions that are outside of those parameters. And the important thing is I know where to come back to when I'm back in work mode. So for example, if we have a weekend day where we were hoping to spend some family time, but something comes up, we can really easily shift our time and priorities around just a little bit to still make sure that we get both without feeling like a failure. And I think that really comes to understanding what your values are, understanding what your priority and commitments are, and then making sure to just be flexible with decisions off of that. I hope that makes sense. The other thing that I wish that somebody had told me was you will sacrifice something, and that is okay. I think, again, we have such an idea of what success has to look like. And we assume that the moment we have to begin saying, well, I have to compromise or I have to sacrifice on this, that means we've done something wrong. But I think that the best thing that we can do is be really selective in our time every single day. And we have to really focus on less, not more. And this has actually influenced my coaching strategy with my agents a lot, because a lot of the agents that I coach are also mothers to young children or parents to young children. They might homeschool their children. They might even have older parents who they care for, right? They have these other responsibilities outside of real estate, and they have to make tough choices all the time about who they're going to show up for. And so, yes, you will have to sacrifice something. Hopefully it's not sleep. The one thing that I really will not sacrifice these days is sleep. So I'm not one of those people who can wake up at 5 a.m., crush out a couple hours of work. I do that from time to time when it feels good and when it makes sense for me. Where I am at in terms of my personal life and health, that's not an option for me. I have to get as much sleep as I can, and that means that I'm squeezing in work in other areas. So I'm sacrificing that extra episode of Netflix more often than I'm sacrificing waking up early. I might really need to take a walk or get some movement in or take a meditation. And that means that I'm going to sacrifice something that I wanted to get done on the work side, but I'm going to have to put it on the back burner because I have to take care of myself. And so just understanding that you will always be sacrificing something. And anytime you say yes to one thing, you are saying no to something else. And the more cognizant you are of that decision-making process, and the more you can relate the decisions you make to the values that you want to protect, the easier this becomes. But anymore, I'm pretty much okay with saying no to some things that would make some people go, oh, why, I could never do that. For example, another big thing that I sacrifice is my inbox. I know that a lot of real estate agents are like addicted to their email inbox, but I find that if I'm in my email too much, it throws my day off. It ruins my productivity. Sometimes I might see an email with like bad news or something, just something that might put me into a bad mood and, make me have a harder time turning off work mode when I get to spend time with my son. And so one thing that I've completely delegated out of my life almost is email. And that's been a really important choice that I've had to make. And I know a lot of real estate agents would say, oh, I could never, I need control over my inbox. You might feel that way, but are you willing to sacrifice that for something better? And what would that be? The other thing that I wish somebody had told me was that most coaching is not going to work for you. You cannot compare your journey to anybody else's. And this is really challenging on social media. So for example, you might be home alone with 1 or 2 or more young kids, and you might be trying to balance that with growing a brand new real estate agent or a real estate business. If that is you, 90% of the coaching that is out there is not going to apply to you. It's not going to be relevant. It's not going to be helpful. And in a lot of senses, it's actually going to make things worse for you. Because what happens is most coaching in the real estate industry, how can I put this delicately, is created for a particular kind of person in mind. And it's a person who has all the time in the world to go all in on their real estate business without factoring in any responsibilities to their family or to other businesses or jobs they might have outside of real estate. So a lot of times I think about like the young guys who can go out there and just cold call for 6-8 hours a day, be hanging out in the office for an entire workday and be going all in towards their goals. They might see the fastest success, and that might be a really good approach. But depending on the season of life you're in, that's not going to be helpful. It's not going to be an option for you. Now, that doesn't mean that you are a failure if you can't do those things that those other agents are doing. What that means is that you have to find an approach that's going to be flexible and work with the commitments that you have. And so this was one reason why I've become so incredibly passionate about coaching real estate agents through the Market Authority Academy. It's because they would come to me and they would say, well, I did this coaching program, or I did this and I did this. And honestly, it just didn't work for me. And I just really felt like a failure the entire time because I saw other agents who were doing these strategies and seeing great results. And I just couldn't, because as soon as I went to work, my baby would wake up early from their nap because they're teething, or my childcare would fall through because someone got sick. And this is such a challenge in this industry, because when coaches hear that happening in your life, they immediately assume that you're not doing the work, and they want to gaslight you into being the one who's just not strong enough, smart enough, or working hard enough. And that is just not true. I think that's toxic, and I think that's damaging to a giant subset of the real estate community. And so you have to find coaching and support that is going to understand where you're at in life and be able to actually serve you during that time. Which leads me to the last thing that I wish that I had really honed in on earlier. And I think that I really understood this becoming a parent, but I didn't see it actually execute in real life until I got there. Your workday can be 90 to 120 minutes per day. Everything that you need to get done, this is my fourth piece of advice, everything that you need to get done can be done in 2 hours or less each day. It can be broken up, it can be done in between nap times, it can be done a little here, a little there, but everything that needs to happen to keep your business moving forward takes place in a 2-hour window of time. And those are your revenue producing activities. There is a lot that you can say no to, or that you can delegate out, or that you can partner with somebody to help kind of spread the workload out. But for you specifically, there is only about 2 hours of work that you need to do that can ultimately move your business forward each day. And you have to allow yourself to get, and it is a self-permissive thing. You do have to give yourself permission to let this be more simple than you originally thought it would. You have to allow yourself to get clear on what those revenue producing activities are, get absolute clarity on what the metrics are relating to that, meaning if you have built your business on Instagram and referrals like me, what are the activities specifically related to that you can do each day to consistently and predictably translate into a certain number of deals each month? And then you need to make sure that you do that every day. It doesn't matter if you're breaking it up into 15-minute increments. It doesn't matter if you're doing it all at once during nap time, or before, you have to run off to drop off, any of that kind of stuff. Like, you have to allow yourself to get obsessive about those 2 hours of time. And you have to allow yourself to say no to anything else that feels like busy work, that feels like it would be really beneficial to your business, but maybe is not really contributing to your goals. And there will be more days where you have the ability to put in like a 6 or an 8 hour workday, but there are going to be probably more where your options are going to be very limited in how much you can show up that day for your business. And on those days, you have to get obsessive about that window of time. We call those your power hours in the Market Authority Academy. And I work with agents to really create that structure and that blueprint for how they're going to prospect and market their business each day. And if you can do that consistently, you will be fine. You probably won't close as much business as you hoped. Maybe, I don't know. And if so, that's okay. That just means you're in a different season of life. But what it will do is keep you closing deals consistently, and it will keep your business running for the day when maybe the kids go off to school, or maybe when they're a little bit more self-sufficient to entertain themselves, take care of themselves just enough to where you have a little bit more time and bandwidth to really continue investing time and energy into your business. So that's a lot of the things that I wish that I would have known before becoming a mother. And those are the things that I've learned since becoming a mother. And of course, it's always a work in progress, and I'm always continuing to hopefully improve myself and my business, but I'm allowing it to unfold in alignment with the journey that it is, right? I'm just trying to focus on only comparing myself against who I was last week or last year, and always just trying to make those tiny 1% improvements day over day. And I hope that that's what you do too. Real estate is awesome. It can give you that freedom and flexibility, but I think that we need to redefine what that actually means and how it's serving a greater purpose in our lives. Hope you found this video helpful. This is another Monday Musing from Stefanie Lugo. Hope you have a great week. Till next time, keep on crushing it.